Hello everyone again and welcome to round 2 of the Grand Am Premier Series live from Barber Motorsports Park on Glacier TV. Will Vincent, Marius Gonenbeck and Rob Sutherland in the booth. We've got a lot to get through in the next minute and a half as the field are already on the grid waiting for the pace car to take them around on their warm-up lap. And I'll come to you first, Rob. Very interesting race we're looking forward to today.
Absolutely, it should be an absolute barnstormer. We've just seen them all behind the pace car at the minute. We've got a interesting grid with 15 Riley Daytona prototypes and a lot of a smaller amount of Mustangs, but should be some good racing.
So very quickly to run through the grid, Blake Townsend, it starts on pole position with Christopher Roberts in second, Evan Maillard in third, Anthony Rossellini in third, Chris Damon Jr. in fifth, Andres Corrali in sixth, Ray Galloway in seventh, David Ward in eighth, Howard Machanhayan in ninth, Jarno Vippinen in 10th in the Daytona prototypes. And on the Mustang grid, we'll hand over to Marius.
Hello and good day from me as well, and we've got a rather small grid in total, so there are only about 7-8 Mustangs on the grid. In fact, it is 8, and the leader from them is Scott Michaels, 136.245, about 2/10 quicker than Dave Gehling in second position, 136.4. Another 10th in front of Paolo Valente, 36.5, and then we've got a whole 1.2 second gap to Kevin Parrish in fourth position, 137.7, followed by Jörne Zorek in fifth, David Galambos in seventh, and Stefan Overgaard in eighth, and ninth position on the grid, David Jack with no qualifying time.
So we're going to be going for 90 minutes here today at Barber Motorsports Park, a beautiful racetrack with some serious undulations, some very titchy, difficult sections, and some straightaways as well thrown into the mix. So we'll have 15 Riley Daytona prototypes setting the field, and also 8 of the Ford Mustangs.
And comparing this to the last week, which has been a rather chilled out Daytona track, this is going to be an interesting one. 90 minutes on this narrow Barber Motorsports Park track, and we've only got 23 cars on the track now, but overtaking behavior will be crucial here. One mistake and you're definitely out of the race, as there is not really much room for 2 cars, and we're about to go green.
Yeah, pace car pulls himself down towards pit lane. Blake Townend will bring the field up to green flag racing here at Barber Motorsports Park. 90 minutes and we're about to go underway.
Townend with an early start here, pulling Yvon Meillard right behind him. Christopher Roberts staying on the outside. First turn is a left turn. Will Meillard be able to overtake here? No, he takes the safe road, and behind him Dameron Jr. takes fourth position.
So having a look through the field, it does look as though all of the Daytona prototypes have managed to get through turn 1 and 2 reasonably okay. Meanwhile, in the Ford Mustang, Scott Michaels coming under all sorts of pressure from Dave Gehling as they come through turn number 2.
Still fighting for second position. Yvon Meillard now on the inside, taking second place from Christopher Roberts, and Dameron Jr. right next to him, not able to get him out of the turn, staying in fourth position. Now has to fight against Anthony Roselli from fifth. Now into the bottom chicane here, very, very high compression here, and Dameron Jr. remains on fourth position.
So out front, Blake Townend is leading the way. He's got himself a good 6 car length lead to Evan Maillard, who is currently running in second position. He's managed to gain 1 position on the start so far, but Chris Damien Jr. putting all sorts of pressure onto Christopher Roberts as they come down towards the final stages, complete lap number 1. And it does look as though, so far, Marius, it looks as though Blake out front has got himself a nice, comfortable lead.
Yeah, we've just seen a bit of fighting between Meillard, Roberts, Roselli, Dameron Jr. here, and Blake Townend, not really impressed by that, could increase his gap to over 1 second within 1 lap, and that's what he's been going for. Early start, quiet head up the field, and well, with Meillard behind him, he's probably got one of the strongest guys on the grid here, so it's not going to stay like that, but so far Townend is just looking to increase his gap.
In the Ford Mustang division, Scott Michaels is just coming down now to complete lap number 1. That shows you just what the speed differential is between these 2 sets of cars, with the Daytona prototypes almost a full 21 seconds ahead in qualifying, and the top 3 Mustangs are separated by less than 2 seconds as they come down towards turn number 2.
It is not just a difficult track for the Rileys, but also for the Mustangs, as they are struggling with the grip here, as we see Dave Gehling very sideways out of the second turn. And also Scott Michaels is looking to increase his gap, as this might not be as strong as the last week or last race rather on Daytona Road. But definitely Scott Michaels, Dave Geeling and Paolo Valente, all three Mustang experts, and this is going to be a very interesting 90 minutes also in the Mustang class.
Currently looking at the number 9 of Anthony Russell as he comes down. He's trying to get closer to Chris Dameron Jr., who is currently riding in 4th position. And so the first of the Daytona prototypes, they are storming away out front. We'll be looking though literally at about 4 laps time, if not less, for them to start coming up towards the rear of this Ford Mustang field. And Marius, as a Ford Mustang driver, it's very important to try and get yourself a little bit of breathing space early on in this race for when the DPs come up to try and lap you for the first time.
Absolutely, and especially it's also a relief for the DPs here if they've got some space between the cars, especially when you've got 2 Mustangs fighting and the track is absolutely jammed and no DP is able to pass. And that's just going to increase the risk of an incident here, as Blake Townend has been able to increase the gap to Yvonne Meillard to about 1.7 seconds here as they are about to enter lap 4.
In the Ford Mustang division, Scott Michaels and Dave Geeling pulling away ever so slightly from Paolo Valente, currently riding in the 3rd position. David Gallenboss in 4th is just about 2 seconds now behind Paolo Valente in that number 6 machine, but it does look as though the Ford Mustangs are starting to get spread out a little bit. Keep an eye out on Karen Parrish in the battle for 4th position. He's starting to close down Valente quite quickly as they come through into this tight, twitty section. Have a look down to the inside, not going to make it work this time. And so far, it does look as though that we still have all runners on the racetrack. David Ward, however, down in pit lane, limping down in his famous pink car, the number 17. Going to have a look back to see what happened to him. But he spun it literally the second to last corner, just hits the wall after getting it loose. And it looks as though for David Ward and the number 17, his race is going to be over.
And that just brings the difficulty of this track. We've got almost no zones left apart from the little white lines next to the track, as David Ward is completely out of the race and disconnected. Very sad for him. As soon as he probably just touched the white line, the next thing is already grass. So tiny mistake, tiny bit of sideways, tiny bit losing control, and you're not able to hold the car on the track and probably even spin into a barrier.
So Blake Townend has lapped his first Mustang now. He's got himself around Stefan Overgaard, as you see, just Evan Melliard just storming past EP. That is the speed differential between the 2 sets of cars. And as these DPs are going to start having to come around the Mustangs, this is where Townend is going to be an advantage, being the first guy to side his way through. But he's going to have to make sure that as he comes across 2 cars, as you see, he just had to dart to the left-hand side there to avoid contact. He's going to have to make sure that he doesn't get into the way of any fight between these Mustangs, as we see a car off track. That is Paolo Valente in the number 6 machine.
And I wonder what he's doing there. He's actually on the short bit there. He just stopped, and it looks like there's some problem with him. Like, we can't really tell at the moment if it's something with his peripherals or if it's a car problem, but he has apparently stopped and now is last in his class.
Yeah, he's currently sat on the exit, I believe, of turn number 5. And for Paolo Valente, that is going to be a huge disappointment to him, as he was running 3rd in the Ford Mustang class up until that point. So Scott Michaels is leading in the Ford Mustang. Dave Geeling has dropped back to about 2 seconds behind, whereas meanwhile in the Daytona prototypes, Blake Townend has been able to use these Ford Mustangs to his advantage to get the gap apart now to about 3 seconds.
And we're only 10 minutes into the race, but already in the fast, almost flat-out chicane here, Dave Geeling had the first bit of contact with Christopher Roberts from the Rileys. Just a bit of paint scrape, no further damage probably, but that is a scary moment as the Rileys are able to take this turn almost flat out, and well, the Mustangs also do, but still the speed difference is at the maximum there, so you probably don't want to go too wide in that turn, and both are quite lucky. As we see now in the slow turns of the track, we still see Paolo Valente staying and standing on the side of the track, not moving at all.
So for Valente, he's obviously just sat down to have himself a quick cup of tea in the middle of the racetrack, which is surprising. But one of the things we haven't mentioned is that these Daytona prototypes are a lot more fragile than Ford Mustangs. You can't afford to get yourself too much bodywork damage to these cars, whereas the Ford Mustang are a lot more robust. They can take a little bit of beating and banging. As you see, Evan Maillard trying to close down Blake Townend for the lead of the Daytona prototype class.
And Paolo Valente, meanwhile, you've seen it on the stream, is back on the track here, right behind Dave Geerling and in front of Kevin Parrish, but we may not forget that it's a 2-lap difference, and, well, the race is only, so far, 90 minutes, and I'm not quite sure if he's able to make up another lap here.
Yeah, so that is going to be bad news for Paolo Valente after getting himself back onto the racetrack. We will try and find out what happened to him as this race concludes. But meanwhile, Scott Michaels is still leading the way. He's coming under a lot of pressure now from Dave Geelink in that number 1 Ford Mustang. As you see, he having to run a little bit wide just to allow a little bit of room for Kevin Krzyzak to get past both himself and Scott Michaels.
Meanwhile, Rob, you're having an eye on especially the downhill chicane of turn 8 and 9. And the part, especially after that, which is the almost flat-out chicane where we've just talked about the contact between Geerling and Roberts. So, tell us a bit about the overtaking there. It's a narrow part where probably only one car can fit through. What have you seen so far?
Well, yeah, it's very simple, really. They come out of turn number 8 on the left-hand side, and then needs to go to the right-hand side to line them up for the 9 and 10 combination, really. And obviously the Mustangs need to do this because they do like to move around a lot, and just when the Rileys are starting to lap them, they're just sort of having to second guess what's going on, and that's the trouble we saw with G-Link earlier. But we've also seen a few other incidents as well where they've just had to sort of lift and cut really inside the Mustangs to avoid contact.
So
the lap time difference is only about 20 seconds, so talking about a track like Daytona where it hasn't been so much more, it's quite good as you won't meet every other lap. But on this track where the Rileys lap in 1 minute 15 time, you're gonna have a Mustang every 4th lap. And we're only talking about 23 cars on the track, 8 Mustangs and 15 Rileys, but still you really have to get in the zone to not make any mistakes there.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Marius, as a Ford Mustang driver yourself, I want to ask you very quickly about the concentration that must be involved for a Mustang not being able to really keep any rhythm throughout the race as you're constantly being overtaken by these Daytona prototypes whilst you're still having to be involved in battles on the racetrack yourself.
Well, you want to have concentration peaking at all the time on the track, of course, but it was quite hard on Daytona where you have the large oval part in it. But on Barber, where you almost have no straights at all, and you're just going sideways all the time, and you're trying to keep your own car on the track, especially when tires wear off, it's difficult to just keep an eye on the rearview mirror all the time. And I'm prepared to see some incidents due to that, but definitely the guys are all experts. All of the Mustangs in the class are driving this car for more than half a year probably, and I'm pretty sure they'll have an eye on the mirrors all the time.
So we're looking on board momentarily at Anthony Rosselli as he's trying to hound down Chris Dameron Jr. That is a battle for 4th position on the racetrack. It does look as though Rosselli is much stronger at the moment over Dameron Jr. We are currently about 10-11 minutes into this race. So it does look as though Rosselli is going to want to try and get a hurry up to try and get past Dameron Jr. But it does look as though as they come up towards traffic, whether or not he'll be able to make a move. Both of them just dart immediately down to the inside, but that's allowed Rosselli to close that gap down to less than 2 car lengths.
And even if he's closing in, as we see now, it is a really hard thing to get past another car. You can only hope that Dameron Jr. has to wait for the Mustangs as he's about to lap 2 of them. But on the straight, it doesn't look like there is a chance. So Rosselli just has to wait, and especially has to wait for an incident or for a mistake from Dameron Jr.
Out front, Blake Townend is running to strap the gap up to 3.2 seconds over Evan Maillard in that number 2 BMW Power H&W machine. Christopher Roberts is currently running in 3rd, and he's having a look down to the inside as he comes down. He's going to make the pass on Evan Maillard for second position, and it looks like Maillard almost spins it there, but somehow managed to keep it on track. But Maillard now down into third position, and has allowed Christopher Roberts to scarp away momentarily.
And Roberts and Maillard are about to reach the two leading Mustangs, as Geeling has also been able to close the gap a tiny bit with all the overtakings coming up, but he's running into the same problems, especially as the Mustang is a bit slower on the track. He's not able to just dive down the inside and hope for a pass. So as the race is only about 15 minutes in, they are definitely looking for a clean race and no damage to maybe decide positions in the last half an hour of the race.
So, traffic coming into factor, but it does look as though the Ford Mustangs are giving plenty of room to the Daytona prototypes where possible. Scott Michaels is still your leader in the Ford Mustang division, but he is still under pressure from Dave Geeling, so he's got to be careful that he doesn't give too much room, doesn't lose too much time, because Geeling is just waiting there, waiting for an opportunity to try and pounce as they come down towards turn number 1 and what is lap 9 for the Ford Mustangs.
And you say he's waiting for an opportunity, but definitely that opportunity should not include consistent Riley lappings here. And as the field is about to spread out a bit more, 45 seconds gap from the 14th position Fabrizio Raffa to Blake Townend in the lead. You're gonna hit a Riley eventually every other turn. So looking for a gap, Dave Geeling, for a pass. That is there won't be much of that, and he's getting closer and closer. But Scott Michaels gets the better exit, and he's just breezing out of turns and away, so not much of a chance for Geeling so far.
And in the battle for 6th position, Andres Corrali has managed to get past Ray Galloway in the number 11 machine, so that is a pass for 6th position on the racetrack. Corrali doing a beautiful manoeuvre to overtake Ray Galloway there, in which is a really striking orange and green car. But it does look as though some of these drivers are wanting to try and get a move on early on in this race. But Galloway is struggling a little bit at the moment, just by looking at it. So, I got that wrong. It's completely the other way around. It is Galloway past Corrali in the battle for 6th position.
And that's going to be interesting. And I think talking about the top 6 of the Rileys, or even top 7, Townend, Roberts, Maillard, Demron Jr., Roselli, Galloway and Kirali, they are all extremely fast in this car, and especially talking about Andres Kirali. I believe he's been the winner of the Premier Series last season, so he's the guy you want least behind you. So I'm not really sure, 7th position at the moment for him, if he's really satisfied with that.
And for a number of these drivers, they are not only racing for points, so racing for prizes as a Grand Am Premier Series. And these drivers, after a showing at Daytona Speedway, want to keep their momentum as Corrali gets the chicane all wrong there, losing himself a good couple of seconds. He's thankfully got a little bit of a gap back to 8th position, so he'll be able to get away with that momentarily. But, Marius, in this Grand Am Premier Series, you've got to be on it each and every race, as the word drop week doesn't come into account as on other iRacing official Premier Series.
Exactly. You've, as much you said, you've only got 10 rounds of the season, of course, spreading throughout the whole year though. The last round is, I believe, at the end of September, so you've got plenty of time to prepare between the races. Nevertheless, you've only got 1 drop week, so you definitely have to score 9 weeks. And we see the same guys from the first race now up in the standings again. Townend, Roberts, AR, and Michaels, Geeling, they've been scoring the highest points in the first week. So these are the guys probably the best prepared and the fastest on the track, and they are just looking to get a good clean start in the season, as they don't want to spend their first drop during the first rounds, of course.
Dave Geeling still putting pressure on Scott Michaels in the Ford Mustang class. These drivers have been going hammer and tong. They have dropped Kevin Parrish for the time being. He's not even out of the final corner. The 2 other Mustangs have come through turn number 2 already. That shows the gap between 1st and 3rd position in this race. But it does look as though Geeling is very strong as he goes through the corners. However, Michael's just a little bit better once he gets the power down, and that's been able to give him a little bit of breathing space down these short straightaways.
And Geeling can just not take advantage. He's been on the outside of him for the 2nd turn, but taking the long way up the hill, not really able to keep his momentum. And we also have to say that while they are fighting here, there's, like I said before, Riley's coming up every other turn here, and the field has been spreading out to about 1 minute gap between place 1 and 14 in the Rileys. So that means they are probably filling all the track now, and just with 15 Rileys, this track is already packed, as it's just 3.8 kilometers long, but 16 turns. So that means no straights, only turns so far for the drivers, and they've just been going at it for the entire 20 minutes this race has been going, and so far everything is fairly clean.
Yeah, on the one hand, having the field and the Daytona prototype class spread out means that you are going to have Rileys passing you pretty much every other corner. It does thankfully mean that they only have to deal with 1 or 2 Rileys at a time. We're now over 15 minutes into round 2 of the Grand Am Premier Series on iRacing, live on Glacier TV. Will Vincent, Marius Gonnenbeck and Rob Sutherland in the booth. Blake Townend is still leading the way in the Daytona prototype division. He's got about a 2.5 second gap to Christopher Daytona prototype division. Meanwhile, in the Ford Mustang class, Scott Michaels is still under pressure from Dave Geelink. But as I said just a moment ago, those two have completely dropped the rest of the field. Third place is Kevin Parrish in the number 12. And David Ganenbach is starting to put quite a lot of pressure onto the 12 of Kevin Parrish. But yet again, the Daytona prototypes lapping these cars means that it's very difficult for Ganenbach to form some form of an attack, as constantly, every time he's starting to build up to try and make an opportunity to pass, he's got Daytona prototypes just filling his rearview mirror, as they had 4 DPs done past him in just a sequence of 4 corners there.
And they are all looking to not risk too much here. We've been going at it further and further, and every turn on this track is having a special difficulty. Downhill chicane, fast chicanes, and it's just not any space on the track to do mistakes. And so far, in both classes, we've only got one really big mistake, and that's been David Ward, who's been hitting the wall. So 22 of 23 cars still on the track and running, and that just shows how easy the cars are going at it and just not trying to do any mistakes.
So in the DP class, I say, Blake Townend is still leading the way. There's some good battles going on all the way across this racetrack. Anthony Rossellini is still closing down Chris Dameron Jr. in the battle for 4th position, and I'm momentarily going to hand over to Rob Sutherland.
Oh, hello. What a fantastic race. We're 23 minutes in. And we've done Blake Townsend still in the lead with Chris Roberts and Edwin Mallard in 2nd and 3rd position. All the DPs have now lapped the Mustangs at least 3 times.
And you probably have noticed this so far. We're trying to give you the peak of action on the track, as we've got about 5 or 6 cars close together every other turn, and well, it's not really possible to show you all of the action going on the track, so we're switching a bit swiftlier than on other tracks. But so far, you notice we're already probably talking ahead of you a bit. We're trying to give you all the action in replays or live, and just to give you really the spread out of action. These cars are definitely going at it for the good 25 minutes we're in the race now, and there's been action all over the place. But comparing this to Daytona, we've got less contact and less incidents and less DNF so far.
There's still a long time left in the racing, Maris. I think this is 90 minutes today, so we're going to see, especially after the first few pit stops, we're going to see or the first pit stop. So we're going to see a lot of jostling around. There are fights going on. They're all about half a second away from each other. So especially down the Ford Mustangs, it's really hard to actually get up close to someone unless they make a mistake. It looks like the pack of cards is shuffled.
And it's also not easy to get away from your fellow competitors. Best example, Scott Michaels versus Dave Geelink. Even if they hit the unlucky situation and Geelink has to lift or brake a few times more than Michaels, he's only dropping back to about a second, and Then again, with the next overtaking, it might turn out the other way, and Gehling is right at the tail of Michaels again. As we're currently seeing Yvon Meillard, and talking about Yvon Meillard, he's got exactly the same thing with Christopher Roberts. 1.2 seconds difference between them two, fighting for the second position in the Riley class. But this could look very different as they approach the Mustangs quite soon again, and tiny mistake, tiny much braking, or tiny bit more braking for Christopher Roberts even, and Meillard is right in his head and right at his tail again.
Yeah, it's a wobble or an incident away from the pass really, and it depends how good they are through traffic. I mean, everyone at the moment's been pretty superb through traffic. We've not seen any major comings together. Looks like Dameron Jr. and Anthony Rosselli are quite close as well. That's probably the closest fight on the circuit at the minute.
And I believe we've got one car in the pits, and that is Daryl Sutherland. And talking about 23 minutes in the pits, Rob, I don't think that's a planned pit stop there.
Carmen, we're just going to look for a bit of damage now. That's a great name from Daryl as well.
As he's just going back on the track, and it just looks like his front right is a bit bent. The headlights are a bit pushed into the car, as he's about to go out right behind Janez Zorek in his Mustang here.
So we need to find out what caused that incident. Daryl was up in, I think, about the 12th position, I think. Oh, I think he came together with a green Mustang. So yeah, I think it was down into corner number 2. He just got behind a green Mustang.
Yeah, and well, that could happen, especially if you're in the Riley. It's hard to really calculate how much grip the Mustang can lose within being in the turn. So even if he's turning and it looks all fine, the Mustang can just suddenly go sideways, as we're seeing Anthony Rosselli breezing past the Mustangs there. And you've just seen him making a 90-degree steer on the straight, as David Galambus is having a handful of issues from his rearview mirror. And, well, that just Dameron Jr. having the same problems, and now Rosselli is coming closer and closer by lap after lap.
And it will give him great satisfaction to see the guy in front having his little mistakes and little incidents as well, you know.
Yeah, and, well, you said it, little mistakes and little incidents, but if you don't pay attention, these become big incidents, as we've just seen Dameron Jr. struggling through the first turn and almost clipping the grass there. And such a mistake can not just cost you the position, it can also just damage your car so heavily that your race can be over after such an incident.
So that was a good old crowd of cars. That was including the lead of the Mustangs as well that they've just gone through.
Talking about the lead of the Mustangs, it looks like Scott Michaels is just able to break free a tiny bit more and more each lap from Dave Gehling here. It's about 2.5 seconds so far. But we're not long way half into the race, so 26 minutes gone, and well, Scott Michaels only has to do one issue with overtaking and really has to lose the second there, and Dave Gehling is right behind him again. And then we've got the pit stops coming up, Rob, and that's going to be another thing. In the Mustang, you definitely can't go the 90 minutes, but you can fully fuel the car and then just go for a splash and dash about 20 minutes, before the end of the race, and it's going to be interesting to see what strategy these guys have been going for.
Rosselli's getting so close to Chris, and every time he comes up there's a Mustang in the way, and he has to just back off. This is going to be a crazy fight for the next few laps. He's really amongst the traffic at the moment.
I think he's just through the peak of it. So at the moment they are approaching turn 4 here, and Stefan Overgaard, the next Mustang, is already in turn 10. So it's about half a lap gap between them, so that might be 1.5 laps, 2 laps maybe. And if Rosselli wants to take advantage of that, now is the chance, as if these 2 laps are over, they're just going to hit the whole bit of Mustang traffic right again.
We've just seen them pass the damaged car of Daryl Sutherland. You just pulled wide, let him straight through, didn't want him to involve himself in that battle. And now I think Anthony's got it all to do again. And I think we've got a... Well, I think we've got a fight for...
on sorry, Rob, but I have to interrupt you a bit there. There's been action going on at all the ends of the track here. Blake Townend, meanwhile, had about 3 seconds of gap to Roberts, but now it's only 1.7. So Roberts has been having some good situations with the Mustangs, good clean laps, and Townend was struggling a bit, and now Roberts is able to close in.
Okay, so we got a fight for 8th position. Harold and Jarno down in 8th and 9th position, who just closed up. They're now about half a second away from each other.
It's good to see these notes. I mean, we've got them on all ends of the track so far. Mustangs and Rileys fighting each other here, and so far everything is fairly clean.
Yeah, and Scott Michaels is still pulling away. Big slide from Dave G-Link as well. Just been caught by the battle for 8th position between Harold and Jarno. They're getting nice and close there, aren't they?
Yeah, they're getting closer and closer, but still only a few centimeters between the cars left, and a few centimeters more, and that could mean the end of your race, especially as this track is pretty much one of the most unforgiving in the service. And Jarno and Harold are also regularly driving the Riley, and they probably know about the risks, and always putting a car on the grass here and there can also lead to a crash and the end of your race, and so far they're just taking the safe way and probably not going the full 100% of risk.
Okay, so 22 laps done now, 32 minutes into the race. You're watching the Grand Am Sports Premier Series on glaciertv.com. You are joined by Marius and Rob Sutherland. And we're watching the fight for 8th position between Harold and Jarno Viljanen. I can't get the name right. Marius, how do you say the second name?
I think it's Viljanen.
Viljanen, that's it. Just going to see if we can get you in car shot.
And meanwhile, Christopher Roberts, I think we're going to switch to that for a second, as he is going at it for the past laps. And I have to be honest, he's been chasing Blake Townend down and gaining about 0.6 of a second per lap. And we've been saying this about 3 laps ago, and now Roberts is right at the tail of Blake Townend, and Meillard is about 2.5 seconds behind them. But as they will start fighting, I guess Yvon Meillard will be right at that tail, Rob.
Absolutely, and Dameron Jr. has some damage on the front side of his car. Dameron Jr. is currently in 4th position. That's given Anthony the opportunity to catch up with him. Find out what caused that.
I think he had an issue with especially the things we've been talking about. David Galambos trying to get his Mustang out of the way, but just sliding across the track, as there's pretty much nothing he can do about this. Dameron Jr. been able to hold on to his 4th position. Doesn't look like it's too much damage, but Galambos just couldn't get out of the way.
And Chris Roberts, I think, had a bit of drama. Or not, he seems to be turning laps fine. He's currently half a second behind Blake, so it looks like he's caught up. And Evan is right behind him as well.
Yeah, he is fine. In turn 1 he had a bit of a scary moment as he went off track and completely sideways. Still maintaining a gap of about 1 second, and each of that mistake just counts towards Yvon Meillard. He's got these 2 guys in the side, and we know Meillard is definitely one of the best guys out there, and he's just looking to fight and get down this gap as we are about to enter the 26th lap and cross the 32-minute mark here.
So we're going in car with Evan now. You can see him just taking that apex nice and late, coming in, down for the switch to the left. I do like the way the cam changes in Barber Motorsports Park. It's great. It really allows you to sort of turn the car around. They've just started lap number 26. It's currently about 1.2 seconds behind Christopher Roberts. Just go over a nice little crest now. Not trying to get too loose, try and look out for that Mustang as well. See the braking markers on the right hand side, just come down into the necessary gear, flick it in. Try and hold the back because it does like to step out on these things. The current order in first position in the Riley Daytona prototypes is Blake Townend. Second is Christopher Roberts. Third, Evan Malliard. Fourth position, Chris Dameron Jr. Fifth is Anthony Rosselli. Sixth is Andres Corrali. Seventh is Ring Galloway. Eighth is Harold Mishenhaller. Ninth position is Jarlo Vilhanen. In 10th is Kitty Engstrom. 11th is Sergei Soldatov. In 12th position is Kevin Kosierek, and in 13th position is Fabrizio Rava. And up at the back of the Rileys is Darrell Sutherland, who've had one retiree from the Rileys, and that's the pink car of David Ward. Moving on to the Mustangs. First position, Scott Michaels. 7th is Dave Jalink. Third place, Kevin Parrish, as we see Evan getting nice and sideways there. In 4th is David Jacks. 5th is David Galambos. In 6th position is Janek Zorek. 7th is Stefan Overgaard, and in 8th position is Paolo Valente. We're watching Rosselli on TV. And he is currently in 5th position, chasing down Chris Dameron Jr., the damaged car of Chris Dameron Jr. Gap is now down to, as you can see, just a whisker away from him, so it's got about half a second on that. And all race long, he's not really been able to put Chris under enough pressure, really. They've got close through traffic, but he's not been able to capitalise on it. The gap between first and second position, it was down to half a second and 1 point, is now up to 1.1 seconds. Evan Malliard looks like to drop back a little bit as well, especially with that little twitch he had earlier. And it looks that Anthony can get close, just not close enough. In the battle in the Mustang class, looks like Scott Michaels is about sort of 3 or 4 seconds ahead of Dave Gillink. And we apologise for you not being able to hear the lovely sounds of Maris. He's otherwise occupied. As we see Anthony get really, really close up behind Chris then as they stream down the straight. He's just not able to get that one through 9 and 10. Is that Mustang gets in the way now, so it looks like Anthony's now got to run right up the bumper of Chris Dameron Jr. Inside, slide it sideways, control it under the braking. And he's close. And he's touched, they've touched. Anthony and Chris Dameron Jr. touched. Doesn't look like there's much damage. Chris Dameron Jr. is not being very happy about that. They just got side by side. I want to see that on a replay. So that was a battle for 4th position. Okay, so we're now seeing a replay of the Anthony Rosselli and Chris Dameron Jr. incident. So they came through that corner, just sort of slid and got side by side, bit of a door knocking incident, and it resulted in Dameron Jr. off into the gravel. And he uses this opportunity to welcome back Marius.
Hello.
Right, okay, so we are now 40 minutes into the race here at Skip Barber, and we've seen a bit of an incident between Anthony Rosselli and Chris Dameron Jr. That's resulted in them swapping positions for 4th position. Currently 23 seconds behind Blake Townend, who's miles ahead of 2nd place with 3.7 second lead at the moment.
And it also looked like Yvonne Maillard and Christopher Roberts have swept positions. And we're going to try to give you a replay of that. As I've been saying this earlier, it's likely that we are going to miss some action here. Just packed on all ends of the track, and we're just going to replay and see if we can find what happened there. It looks like it has been lap 27. Christopher Roberts very sideways into the chicane and then just spinning 180 degrees. Not any incident here, but definitely losing the position, and we're going to get back live with Maillard and Roberts. And I'm gonna see if we have an onboard camera of Roberts so you can see how close he actually is behind Maillard. I can see that, and well, that's only playing in favor for Blake Townend. 5.3 seconds to 2nd position for him now, and Maillard heavily defending against Christopher Roberts. Roberts been able to close the 1.5 second gap within 2 laps, and now he's just looking to get his 2nd position back from Yvonne Maillard.
So there'll now be an incredibly focused effort there from Chris Roberts to try and catch up with Evan Maillard and try and reclaim the 2nd position that he held quite comfortably for the start of the race. And nice and close now.
Meanwhile, behind these guys fighting for 2nd and 3rd position, Chris Dameron Jr. has been able to extend his lead in 4th position to 5th by about 3 seconds. So Rosselli is looking to get this down again, but he's also getting pressure from behind. Andrew Skirley and Rye Galloway right next to each other through the final turns here, 6th and 7th position. And especially Galloway and Curley, one of the fastest guys here, looking to charge down Rosselli and Dameron Jr. and definitely for 4th position to till about 7th. We've only got 6-7 seconds gap, so there's not really any decider for 4th position, and so it's going to be open for 2nd but also for 4th, and that is a bit of a surprise. We're not even half way into the race. Just about 5-6 minutes left till that, and we've got an intense amount of fighting going on.
And Evan Maillard there, just really brave pass on David Jackson, his Mustang, and that really backed up Christopher Roberts. So we're watching the battle of 6 between Andres Corrali and Ring Galloway now. Nice and close, and that's a fantastic little paint job there in nice little Mazda colours.
And even though it looks like Galloway can pull the faster laps, they've been going at it for some laps now, and there's been absolutely no chance for overtaking.
No, but saying that, oof, nice and close. Different lines for that corner there. Caused and took it quite tight, and Rin just sort of drifted a little bit wide, but had to just sort of lift off slightly. So we're going to go in car with Rin Galloway now. And Marish, you can see that they're putting the power down sometimes. You've got to be really, really quite smooth, or else it just give a little bit of a wobble.
Yeah, and especially if you're trying to follow your opponent close and having this kind of bumpy track and not really much different in lines, you're going to have one little mistake on the entry, as we see David Galambus going off track a bit there in the chicane, and oh, that's going to be close, and that's a hit for Kirali.
That was always going to happen. The rejoining.
And Galambus spins. Oh my God! And he's right on the track, and that has been that could have been predicted.
Yeah, just as he came back on the circuit, you can tell that he was still a bit like, oh my God, I've just been off the circuit. Wasn't really paying much attention behind him, and they both limped back into the pits. And Galambos has just got in the way of Andres Corrali coming to the pits as well. So, and indeed they're just going to pass in the pit lane, which is a bit rude. Big incident, and avoidable at the same time.
Yeah, it's been quite a predictive thing. Kirali was looking to get down the inside, but Galambos not really aware what's happened. And you see how close he just got on the track again, missing one Riley. I believe that has been Ryan Galloway. He's been really lucky in that, but then also spinning back on, and Journey Zorek just got amazingly closely with him. So lucky for Zorek and Galloway here, and definitely unlucky for Kirali.
So we have Anthony Roselli joining the circuit, rejoin the circuit right in front of Blake Town. So we have a Steel Series parade going on at the moment.
We've still got the battle going on between Roberts and Mayar for second position, so they've been unimpressed by this. So second position is still very close together. Still, they are looking to decrease the gap to place one. So Roselli holding up Townend a bit, question mark, and 4.6 seconds instead of about 6 few laps before. Mayar is looking to decrease the gap here, and Roberts is just carefully following him.
And Maillard's pulling 117.7, 117.5s and 118.5, so he's not really pushing at his best, because he has been in the low 117, so he's certainly got his eyes in the mirror.
Eyes in the mirror is a good catchphrase for Scott Michaels as well. Dave Geerling has been catching him a tiny bit more and more each lap. It has already been up to 4 seconds of gap, and now it looks like it's close to 2, so Geerling putting down some good laps. 138.0, 37.9, 37.6 as he's now moving into the pits, and that means splitting the race in half for Dave Geerling in terms of pit strategies, and that's going to be a good thing for Scott Michaels, I believe. If Michaels is going to continue driving, then that means he's got more fuel and he's going to pit later, and we've also got the leader Blake Townend in pits, Rob.
Okay, so now it's sort of kicking off now, pretty much just past halfway through the race. We're starting to see a lot of people coming to pits. Blake has just dropped, he's just getting slowed down as well on exit from the pit lane by a Mustang of Zdeněk Zarek as well. So that's going to cost him. And that's a battle we don't really see that often. Yeah, you've got to get past Mustangs on the circuit. You've got to get past. This is multi-class racing. It's kind of the whole point of it. But coming into the pits and coming out of pits, you can certainly get held up, and you can't. You just must resist the temptation just to rejoin the circuit unsafely.
Absolutely, and we're now back to the second place, now leading Yvon Mayar, who is now entering the pit, so he's done one more lap than Townend, and that could be a good thing, because, well, Townend had a slow pit stop, slow entry, been very careful here, and Mayar and Roberts have been going at it and just pushing through the pits, and it looks like they won't have any traffic. And meanwhile, Scott Michaels is still out and definitely not looking to pit yet. And if Michaels is the same as on Daytona, so that means fully refueling the car at the start, or fueling it for the race, that means he's going for a very long stint here before he pits, and that looks good as a strategy for him.
Okay, well, there's no damage between Maillard and Roberts that we know of to fix, so this should be quite good. I don't really like the way Christopher Roberts has got his car in a pit as well. Oh, they just come out together, because he's certainly got that was a bad placement from Christopher Roberts. It means he just can't get the power down on exit just to get back up to the limit. Green, they've gone past the green cones. They need to get on the circuit again. And that was a great pit stop from the guys.
And meanwhile, Scott Michaels has also come into the pits, and that is quite a bit of a surprise there, Rob. I initially expected him to have a higher fueled car, a heavier car at the start, just to make it over the pit strategy, but it looks like Scott Michaels has gone with the same strategy that gave Geering, and is now looking to defend his first position here.
And Gillink's just coming round corner number 15 now to turn in and take the start-finish line. So we're going to see where this puts him out, and if Scott can get out in front of him.
That's going to be very close. Looks like Michaels had a bit of traffic on his in-lap, but nevertheless, dealing with the cold tyres and the slippery car and more fuel for one lap, is still in second, and Michaels maintains his lead, and it looks like the gap has been increased by a tiny bit as well.
So the race is certainly still on in the GT class.
Chris Dameron Jr., Sergei Soldatov also in the pits here.
Right, okay, this is going to damage Chris Dameron Jr. because he has got that damage on the front of his car. So we're going to see probably quite a long pit stop from Chris.
Hopefully no repairs needed, although I don't think that he would probably have to pit earlier for that. But it definitely depends on what his mechanics decide. Are they going to repair the whole damage of the car, or are they going to let him go?
7 minutes. It says in the chat 7 minutes optional repairs for hitting the wall, 30 mile an hour.
Yeah, but optional repairs, that's the big question mark. How much of them are required? And he's already revving the engine, so it could just remain optional, but he's still standing, and Soldatov pitted right with him, and he's already out of the pit, so it doesn't look so lucky for him.
Blake Townend has now retaken the lead. Well, he did retake it early, but the telemetry's just updated. 3 seconds is the gap between himself and Evan Maillard.
And it looks like we have quite a showdown between these guys. Maillard, Roberts catching Blake Townend by a rate of 0.2, 0.3 each lap, and 3.4 seconds only. That's been about 5 before the pit stop, so it's going to be closer and closer as we now see Chris Dameron Jr. out of the pits and just being lapped by Townend here. So Dameron Jr. definitely had a longer pit stop than expected, and definitely has some damage repairs to do.
He came flying out those pits. Absolutely gunning it. The leader, Blake Townend, has lapped all the way up now till 9th position. So that's quite a dominant display from the Club England guy. And in fact, the Club England are leading the both classes.
So far they are correct, and you also see the fight for the lead, or respectively the second position of both classes on the screen now, as we've just been on board with Christopher Roberts here passing the 2 Mustangs, and that has cost Scott Michaels a bit of time right before the chicane, dealing now under 2 seconds to Michaels, and we are in the race for about 51 minutes, lap 32 entering for the Mustangs, lap 40 for the Rileys now, and it's going to get closer and closer as the race progresses. Yvonne Maillard now 2.9 seconds to Blake Townend, and Christopher Roberts has to back off a bit, so Maillard has some breathing room to the rear, and crossing the line now. Townend has been able to increase the gap to 3.3 again, but it could just all the way.
Yeah, we've just seen Jarno come in the pits as well, who was, I believe he was quite a late pitter. He's currently down 6th position.
And he's just been coming out right in front of Dameron Jr. So, Michael Thaler and Viljan. Oh, and
Contact.
Talking about that.
Say,
Chris Dameron Jr.
I was just, was that commentator's Kurskin, I was just about to say we're going to see a charge from Chris Dameron Jr. But no, just got caught under braking on that hairpin. He's not having a good day, Chris.
Absolutely not, and that's just going to add to the damage. And, well, they've just been fixing it, and now it just looks like they probably have to go fix it again.
And he's been caught by Ring Galloway as well. Obviously, that's not full position. He's currently a lap down. We're following Scott Michaels now, the leader of the Mustang class, and right behind Scott is the ever-catching Dave Jolink as well. They're just coming up to another Mustang 2-lap, and that's Paolo Valente, who had that, who stopped in the middle of the circuit in a couple of in the first few laps of the race. We don't know what he was doing, but we would hate to speculate. It's cool if it just slides a little bit wide.
Oh, and that's not good for Michaels. Paolo Valente on the grass and hitting Michaels to the side.
And Valente now crabbing along. He's certainly not dry. He's straight in the pit lane, and what a terrible blow that is for Scott Michaels.
And that has been so unbelievably unnecessary from Valente here. Michaels was looking for the pass down the S's already, and then Valente just taps the grass and absolutely slams in the side of Scott Michaels here. And that's putting Dave Gehling right in the position of taking the lead here. A lot of damage on the left side for Michaels. It's probably even a big question if he can continue the race or needs to pit for required repairs. And now Gehling's right at his tail, and it looks like Michaels is really struggling with his car now.
Yep, looks like it's pulling to the right slightly. What a terrible needless blow that was, just lapping the back marker. And it's just really easy pickings now from Dave. It's just how he can get past, if he can get past safely, if he try not to involve another Riley's. We see the Daytona prototype of, I believe that was Anthony Rosselli, just past them both.
And it is also a big question for Kevin Parrish, who's been doing a really strong race so far in third position. So if Scott Michaels has to pit again for repairs, then Kevin Parrish is the lucky second guy here on the track, and probably that's not what he has expected.
Yeah, that's what happens if you run consistently. Sometimes you can be gifted positions by drama and shenanigans up ahead.
Meanwhile, Ryan Galloway from 4th position in the pits, and that is one of the latest guys in the Riley to pit here. And he was fighting against Chris Dameron Jr., who's meanwhile retired from the race. So it looks like Roselli's going to get him. Yes, he does, as he's now past the finish line. So Ryan Galloway is going to go out and lose 1 position and get back on the track as 5th position car.
Sorry to interrupt, we are seeing some fantastic textbook defending there from Scott Michaels. Taking the defensive line, not letting Dave pass. Every time Dave needs to put his foot down, there's Michael's bumper in the way that's just making him lift. This is fantastic racing.
And you just see how much quicker Dave Gehling can go now. The lap times are slower and slower, of course, as Gehling finds no way past. Maybe now into the hairpin of turn 3. It could be enough for Gehling round the outside, as Scott Michaels is just having a terribly damaged car. Late on the brakes for Gehling here, turning in a bit of a slide, bit of a wiggle there. Early on the gas now, and now it's just looking to get into turn number 8 and 9. And is it enough Gehling to really make the risky pass side by side entering the chicane now?
This is more like karting than Mustang racing, isn't it? He's got it now. What's he going to do? Just come in, just over that little
no chance
curve.
for Michaels. There is no chance to defend.
Well, you're saying that he's coming right round. He's still door to door.
Probably now has back off just wheel to wheel now, but what is he doing? There's a lady coming past. That is Kitty Engstrom. Side by side through the chicane.
So I think they're going to go the entire lap side by side, I think.
Yeah, Michael's still down the inside. He's not looking to give him his place, but now Gehling is past, and there's no opportunity for a counter move.
Yeah, and just a little bit of switch now. That's it. Closure on that move. What a great combination of corners we've seen then, side by side between these two guys, leaving themselves excellent amount of room.
Oh, and Michaels! And that is unfortunate, and that is his teammate Blake Townend hitting him off.
This is a race that keeps on giving.
And that is further damage for Scott Michaels, so that is very unfortunate, and I believe also Blake Townend might have some damage from that. His car looks just like the one from Dameron Jr., and that has been so unfortunate, and take a look at this in the replay. Michaels has just lost his first position, and then Townend comes up, not expecting the guys out of the turn there, and there has been absolutely no room, and he just taps him. Take a look at this. Townend comes up to his rear and just taps him on the left, spins him right in the wall here. That has been unbelievably unfortunate for Scott Michaels and Blake Townend here.
So we need to find out what that leaves for Scott Michaels. A bit of a news as well for you is that Chris Dameron Jr. after his second incident, has retired from the race.
And now, Rob, with Blake Townend, I'm a bit speechless about that still. I'm not sure if Townend caught any damage from that, but Meillard is only 4.5 seconds behind. So even if it's a tiny bit of damage and he just loses lap after lap, it could be enough for Meillard to really catch up.
Yeah, even confidence as well. You know, is the car going to handle right after you just did that? You know, you've got to get a couple of laps maybe just to get that sorted out.
Same thing talking about Kevin Parrish in third position, catching up and catching up and catching up every lap now. Geerling is already way past in first position now, just looking to safely end the race and not have any incidents himself. And now it's up to Kevin Parrish and maybe even David Jack in fourth position to charge down Scott Michaels. Last lap now, crossing the line exactly now, 138.1, Dave Geerling 37.5, and Kevin Parrish around the line now 39.1, so he himself had some overtaking trouble. But if Scott Michaels' damage is harder than we think, it's going to be very close for Parrish to really get him.
Yeah, but he's still an exceptionally quick driver for the Mustangs as well, so he might run down to sort of mid-pack race speed with that. Looks like it's just sort of crabbing ever so slightly.
And we're going to give you another replay now from the action between Townend and Michaels in the very last turn there. And the onboard camera from Townend is going to show you what exactly happened in the view of Blake Townend's Riley here. As they've just been coming up to the last turn, and you see Townend not really having the Mustangs inside. Now just sees them a few turns ahead, and probably is expecting them to not struggle, and he probably also hasn't calculated the damage from Michaels, as Michaels goes a bit sideways, and there's just been no chance for Townend to really avoid that. So it is really unlucky. There was no room for both, and that's how it goes at Barber Motorsports Park. Less than 4 kilometers track length and more than 16 turns. It's going to happen so quick.
We've just seen Anthony Roselli just pass Scott Michaels again, and he must have looked in the mirror, seen that Steel Series Riley, and just went, oh no, not again.
Townend's last lap, 117.5, and Meillard definitely witnessing what has happened in front of him, 116.9. That is 6/10 difference, and he's still having Christopher Roberts behind him. So it's going to be a three-way fight for the lead if the guys continue like this. Heavy on the grass now for Roberts. You've seen it on the TV cam. Oof. Now it's really the stage of the race. We're over the hour mark, so half an hour left in the 90-minute race here. And I think now we've heard the gong, we've heard it from the referee, and now it's time to fight.
Absolutely. I don't know if they'll know that Blake's had a bit of a come together up front. Maybe they'll see the relative drop by a couple of seconds, but they're certainly charging hard. Looking at a 1:17.083 from Evan in his last lap, and a 1:16.916 from Christopher Roberts. So these guys are really pushing fast times.
I was just about to say that. It looks like Townend has got similar damage than Dameron Jr., and I believe he's not going to pit again, which might be lucky for him, as the pit crew doesn't decide to fix it. So, 4 seconds, now maybe even less if they cross the line this time. It's going to be a long 30 minutes for Townend, and definitely, yeah, a too short 30 minutes, maybe even for Yvon Meillard.
Yeah, we can't. Evan can't afford to look in the mirrors now. He can't afford to notice Chris behind him. He's just got to get on, really push and catch Blake.
And we're once again on board with Christopher Roberts, the third position car on the track, 4.7 seconds behind the leader, and just about 5/10 behind Yvon Meillard. And you can see him struggling behind Meillard, and I'm not quite sure, Rob, but I think the idea of overtaking or making the pass for second place is withdrawn by Roberts. Is he maybe just looking to stay behind Meillard and get lucky if they both catch Townend and be the lucky third in this battle?
Well, maybe he's just got a sensible head on. He knows he just is he's sort of 2/3 through the race. He doesn't want to put his podium under any threat unless it's a really easy pass.
There's always a potential danger when you try to set up a pass, but definitely on this track, not just while lapping, but also in inter-class fighting here. one little mistake, one misjudgment, and it's going to be it for you. So you've said it. Robert's just looking for the safe way out in this one, as we've got less than 30 minutes to go. We should probably inform you again that we've got about a 4-minute offset in our system. So as you see on the bottom right bottom right corner of your screen, it says 24 minutes to go, almost crossing the 24 minutes mark now. It is about 28 minutes to go, 26, 27. We'll definitely calculate that further and give you the exact offset time in a few minutes. And I believe, Yoni, you've just been calculating, and it looks like it is 3 minutes 45. So that is almost 2 laps, a bit more than 2 laps even. So we're definitely going to keep you updated on that, and especially as we progress with the race and going to the last 5 minutes. We're going to tell you when the leads reach the final lap, as Rob, it's probably a good time to go through the grid now.
Absolutely. At the current standings, in first position of the Rileys, Blake Townend, who's still charging some pretty quick times. Second place is Evan Malliard, third is Christopher Roberts, fourth position is Anthony Rosselli, fifth is Rin Galloway, sixth is Kiddy Engstrom, who is a lap down from the leading pack. In seventh position is Harold Mitchenhaller. In 8th position, Jarlo Vilhallen. In 9th position, Sergei Soldatov. In 10th position, Fabrizio Raffa. 11th is Daryl Sutherland. 12th position is Kevin Koziorek. And then we have the retirees from this class. Chris Dameron Jr. 13th, Andrews Kilrally in 14th, and David Ward in 15th position. In the Mustangs, your leader is Dave Jelink. In second place is Scott Michaels, the unfortunate Scott Michaels. Third position is Kevin Parrish. Fourth position, David Jacks. Fifth is Yannick Zarek. In sixth position is our first retiree, Stefan Overgaard. In seventh position is Paolo Valente, who's also retired. And in eighth position is David Galambos.
And as you've just been going through the Mustang class, I've been taking a look at the last laps of Kevin Parrish. Judging on the fastest lap of him, 1:37.3, he's not really off the leader's pace so far, but the last lap's 38 high, 39 low. Scott Michaels, even with the damaged car, is a bit quicker than that. Last lap 37.3, that is even quicker than his fastest lap from Kevin Parrish. And if Michaels can cling on to that, he's maybe not able to get Geerling back, but holding the second place should be enough.
Yeah, and we just seen Dave Jelink just come through corner number 3, and it looked like he just pulled up to us at the stop, but it was just his car sliding wide. So maybe that's going to affect his lap time this time round. Blake Townend posts a mid 117 his last lap. Evan posted the same, or mid 117. Christopher Roberts a 117.6 as well. I had a feeling for a couple of seconds that maybe Evan is holding Christopher Roberts up, because he has been posting some quick laps behind him.
And I believe the 4th position Mustang, David Jack, is in the pits, and that's going to be very interesting. Journey Zorek, 5th position Mustang, has already been in the pits in lap 27 of the race. It's now entering lap 40, so it's a question where David Jack is going to come out, and that's going to be a battle for the 4th position in the Mustang class, Zorek versus Jack.
Okay, so see if that was planned. He's getting his tyres changed a moment. He's up on the jacks.
Having a bit of gear trouble, and that gets Journey Zorek the 4th position, and he's just passed out of the pits here. And now with the fresh tyres, David Jack only has less than 30 minutes to go now. 25 minutes on the clock. And that's been the pit strategy I've been talking about. Having a long first stint in the Mustang, taking about 20 litres more fuel, and then pitting around the hour mark to get the best out of the last stint. And that's what he's been going for, really. So David Jack now looking to get his 4th position back from Journey Zorek.
The battle for second position just currently lapping another Riley of Kevin Kozarek. No dramas there, and come together.
1:16.699 for Blake Townend last lap. That is just about half a second slower off the fastest lap driven in the whole race, which is also by Townend. And so far, Roberts still chasing Yvon Meillard, 17.3 for him and 17.0 for Meillard, so it doesn't look like Townend has caught lots of damage. Still able to hold on to the first place and posting the quickest lap times there.
Looks like we got a new fight developing between Harold and Kiddy. Looks like Kiddy in the 18th car maybe had a bit of a wobble and caused that to, I think, maybe change position. We're just going to have a little look at that.
Yeah, I believe he had some problems with his pedals or wheel. On the way onto the 8th turn of the track, the short straight, he's just been braking around, and I wonder if that's been a pedal problem, so maybe some spiking, so I had to tap the brake all the way. So that has cost him 1 position. Harald Michenthaler currently in 6th, Kiddy Engström in 7th, and right behind them, also in a fighting distance, Jarno Viljanen in 8th position. So 6th place not decided yet, question mark.
And Maillard and Christopher Roberts swap positions. So there is now a new 2nd place. Christopher Roberts has retaken the 2nd position. And Maris, that was just coming through 9 and 10. Evan just got a little bit twitchy, got caught up behind a Mustang, lost a lot of speed, and Christopher just drove on past.
And you know what, Rob? That is exactly what happened to Roberts. Roberts himself lost his position against Maillard by going very sideways in the turn and halfway spinning the car. So, well, we're back to normal order now, and now it's just a question if Maillard is getting a bit cocky here and is looking to get his place back as early as possible.
Yeah, and it was that part where they swapped positions last time. There was some quite aggressive driving early on, so I think we're going to see that from Evan again. He won't be happy about losing out. We'll just see another little wobble from that Riley.
Meanwhile, David Jack is going for another pit stop. And that is a big surprise. He's just been past Journey Zorek. It doesn't look like any damage, so has he probably just refueled too low?
I don't know, not unless he's had something that he's not entirely happy with. Maybe he's sped. Let's say I can't see any tyres being put on him. Maybe he had a black flag.
But even if he has some severe problems now, it could be that he had a black flag. That's a good idea. But still, that wouldn't explain why he has to do such a long pit stop. There has been definitely some refueling involved. He's lost the 4th position again, and now safe in 5th as Stefan Overgaard, the last retiree, in 6th position. It's already a few laps down, and then Paolo Valente and David Galambas also out of the race. So for the moment, last position in the class, still running 5th position for David Jack.
Jarno Viljanen has got past Kiddy Engström. That's for 7th position. So we missed that one off camera as well. It looks like a mistake out of the last corner, and just allowed Jarno to get a run in on start-finish. Looks like Harold pulled over as well just to let him past.
At the moment it looks like 4th and 5th position in the relay class. Anthony Roselli is in 4th and Ryan Galloway in 5th. They look rather safe. Galloway to Michenthaler already half a lap of distance, and Michenthaler himself in 6th position. Looks like he could increase the gap to Viljanen. We believe that Viljanen is a tiny bit quicker on the track, but we've only got 18 minutes to go now, so maybe not enough time for him to really catch up enough. And we've still got the fight going on for 2nd position. 4 seconds now between Towner and Roberts, and if Towner is able to hold that gap, it's going to be definitely a strong race for Roberts. But it doesn't look like it's enough. His pace is blistering, but Towner has just been able to counter every lap, and even if he lost half a second, the next lap he just gained 0.7.
Yeah, been absolutely show of strength from Blake, and he's really only dropped the ball once with collecting his teammate. Scott Michaels is still posting pretty quick times, 1:38s, so he's down in the middle of the Mustang pack with regards to speed. Dave G-Link just posted a 1:37.6. This race I think now is comfortably Dave's, unless he has an accident. And looks like Christopher Roberts, Evan Malliard now dropped 5 seconds behind Blake Townend.
Yep, just the thing I've been talking about. Last lap 16.7 for Townend, 17.7 for Roberts and Maillard. Yeah, Townend is just really, really dominating this once again.
Wide by Chris Roberts. What a mistake that was. Wide through one of the first few corners, I believe, and just hit on the off run on the left-hand side, and just slowed right down and just allowed Evan pass. So Evan is now in second position, and I think he might comfortably in second position as well, because it took Chris Roberts quite a lot of time to get back up to speed.
Comfortable is a bit of an understatement. I'm not really sure if that's really going to be enough. So it's just a second, and we've got a bit more than 15 minutes to go. So it question if he's really able to get this back.
Okay, so it looks like he actually got a black flag, so he had to lift off.
And that is the same turn where he had his first mistake, so it's a bit of a nightmare for him.
And all of this fighting, all of these position changes for second and third, all it does is give Blake Townend the opportunity to drive further away to a victory in round 2 of the Grand Am Sports Premier Series. You can't tell I had that written down on a piece of paper, can you?
Meanwhile, no further changes in the Mustang class. Kevin Parrish not able to close the gap to Scott Michaels. Dave Gilling still leading the field, and it looks like we're going to end this as it is. Dave Gilling, first position in the Mustang, followed by Scott Michaels in second. Kevin Parrish, great race from him in third position. Johnny Zurich fourth, and David Jack in fifth, and these are the only cars which are still running. Stefan Overgaard, Polo Valente and David Galambus already about 20 laps down of the leader, so they are out of the race quite early.
Looks like we've had Kitty Engstrom in the pits. I don't know if that's planned. Maybe it was a quick splash and dash. Certainly didn't stay in there that long.
It's also a question if they really make it on the fuel. Most of the riders have just been in the pits around 45 minutes. That is just about half of the race. And if they have to go one lap longer, if they increase the pace, it's a question if the fuel is really enough.
So we see Fabrizio Raffa in the pits as well, so yeah, you're absolutely right. Maybe we're going to see another quick splash and dash.
Thanks to Yoni Backman for that, but we have to inform you of something which is really incredible, and I don't know how he's still running, but Kevin Parrish has not yet been in the pits, and he's running for 1 hour, and to give you an exact value, I believe it's 1 hour 16 minutes, and that is still on the same set of tyres.
Well, that's amazing. How on earth has he done that?
You can tell that he's struggling, since he's only barely staying under the 1 minute 40, and in the last laps he's had less traffic than usual, so it's a question when he's going to come in. But even with a regular pit stop, he's probably going to keep the third position, as Johnny Zurich is just too far behind to profit from that.
I'm just looking at his laps, and he's just been pulling in a consistent 139.5s and mid 139s, so quite a consistent drive from Kevin Parrish. She's been surprised by Riley Lieutenant prototype there. The battle for second, third position is currently about 1.2 seconds apart from each other, so I don't think that's going to find its way back into a battle before the end of the race.
I was just about to say that. It looks like Mia is really profiting from the mistake from Roberts. So Robert is 1.2 seconds away, and that led to Mia posting the fastest lap times at the moment. 3.3 seconds to the lead and 4.6 for Roberts.
It's amazing what a lack of pressure does to you. once you get that distance away where you think that they're not going to bother you anymore, you can really sort of get your head down.
Ooh, and I believe I've just seen Kitty Engström with a mistake on the track, and there was no other car involved, I think, so it's just been going very sideways into turn 6, I believe that is, and almost spinning the car there as Evomia just passed him together with Christopher Roberts before the downhill chicane.
Okay, so without 40-50 minutes left, we're going to give you a quick rundown of the stand-ins. First place in Riley's is Blake Townend. Second position, Evan Malliard. Third is Christopher Roberts. Fourth is Anthony Rosselli. Fifth position is Rin Galloway. Sixth is Harold Mischenhaller. Seventh position, Jarno Vilhelin. Eighth position is Kitty Engström. Ninth is Sergei Soldatov. In 10th position is Darryl Sutherland. 11th is Kevin Kazariak. In 12th position is Fabrizio Raffa. 13th position, Chris Dameron Jr. 14th is Andrews Kilrally, and 15th is David Ward. The retirees were Chris, Andreas and David. In the Mustangs, we have Dave Gilling all the way in first position, followed by Scott Michaels, who's still running beside quite a lot of damage. Third position is Kevin Parrish, who we still think hasn't actually come into the pits yet. Fourth position is Yannick Zarek. In fifth position, David Jacks. Sixth position is the first retiree, Stefan Overgaard. In seventh is Paolo Valente. 10th is David Galambos. Trying to find some battles on the circuit at the moment. We can't really see any battles developing. Still about a second between Evan and Christopher Roberts for second position, as they are very close now. They've just been stopped by one of those Mustangs of David Jacks. It's allowed them both to get really close. So maybe we have got a battle developing between these two guys. And of course they know each other all too well. They've been pretty much lapping nose to tail for the entire duration of the race. Going in car with Christopher Roberts. You can just see how much work's needed on this circuit. It's quite tricky, especially applying the power. You really got to throw yourself into this corner here. Just hit the curb on left hand side. Make sure it doesn't destabilise too much. Keep the car nice and straight. As you sweep along to the right and to the left for the flick room. You just see him have to correct that a little bit, a touch of understeer there. They're just catching the damaged car of Scott Michaels ahead on the start finish. Hopefully they'll manage to get past before the corner comes up, else it's really going to damage Christopher Roberts' lap. Just takes the outside, takes a little bit wide, runs onto the grass. This is hurting him big time now. Just really can't get past, can't get the optimum line round turn number 3. That's really damaged him now. He's really dropped off behind Evan. We are now on lap number 63. And now would be a fantastic time to bring in our Finnish director, Joni. Welcome to the booth.
Hi Rob, good to be here.
And you've been obviously scribbling away, pointing cameras and whatnot for the entire duration. We can see Christopher Roberts right behind Evan Malliard now. You've been enjoying this fight for second place?
No, actually, I have not been joining because I've been like I had my hands full of 3 or 4 different fights going on the track, and I had to keep track of every one of them and just trying to catch the most interesting one. And in the process, when something has happened to the guys fighting for P6 or P7, and we go on board them at the same time, Meliard and Christopher Roberts switch places. So this has not been an easy task.
It's amazing. We've had at least a couple of occasions where 2 positions have changed at once on the same lap around the circuit, and we've seen one but we've missed the other. It's quite hard sometimes to catch all of the action that's going on. We've seen some excellent racing.
Yeah, race-wise, this has been an outstanding race. I was, to be honest, I was not expecting in-class overtaking this much, especially for positions. I was expecting the traffic to be an issue, but so far, especially the DP fights have been awesome.
And we've seen some fantastic side-by-side action between Scott Michaels and Dave Jelink as well for the lead of the Mustang Class Earl in the race. In fact, I'm pretty much going to pin it, Johnny. That's going to be my moment of the race so far.
My moment of the race would probably be that one whole lap of 2 wide with Dave Geetlink and Scott Michaels. That was insane to watch.
Yeah, that's got to find its way to YouTube at some point. Evan Maliard is still being chased down by Christopher Roberts. There's not many mistakes made. They've always had a little bit of a wobble coming out of that corner. To be honest, coming out of 5A and 5B, they've always had a bit of a wobble, but no one's really had the opportunity to capitalise on it. It's not been that much of a wobble that allows Christopher Roberts to get a proper run up.
Yeah, it's surprising to see this much swapping places with two different drivers. I mean, 2 same drivers, one guy passing the other, then you think that he's going to disappear in the horizon, the basic Formula 1 routine, but every time somebody's been past the other guy 5 laps later, the battle is on again, so this has been pretty much as equal as it can get.
We've seen some fantastic car control over corners 7 leading into 8 as well, just as they hop over those curbs. They're not small curbs, they're pretty big curbs, you know.
Yeah, with these cars, the curves will punish you. You're driving. The cars will come very unstable, unlike Mustangs, where you can really hit the curves well, and the car doesn't. You don't almost get any response to the steering of the Mustang when you go over the curve. I mean, you feel that your car bounces a little bit, but you don't lose that much control over the car, unlike in the DP, where it's much more stiffer car, and it does inform you that hey, you should not go over that.
We saw a very close overtake there between Evan Maliard and Kevin Parrish, just around the outside there. Just got as close can be, and that's quite tricky to do with the Mustangs, because you've really got to. The Mustangs are rarely pointing forward when they're turning, because you've really got to get a drift on.
Yeah, but it'll be fun to see when the Mustang will get the new tire model, which the DP Riley's already has. Will be interesting to see how it will change the behavior of the Mustang. Will it do anything to it, or will it be like let's say in the oval side in the truck series, where the older tire model provided a bit of driving style in order to be fast, but once the new tire model came out, it became much more straightforward in terms of driving style. So will be interesting to see what the Mustang will get with the NTM.
Certainly going to be a lot of relearning. We're looking at the battle between Evan Maliard and Christopher Roberts, second position in the closing stages of the second round of the the Grand Am Motorsport Car Premier Series. Just seen some really fighty through the combinations there.
Yeah, and be sure that as you can see, the timer is starting to approach 0, but the race is not yet approaching the 0 marker. So once it goes to 0, it starts adding up again. So add another 3 minutes and 45 seconds to the 0 right now. So add 3 minutes and 45 seconds, and then we're gonna get the white flag to the leader.
Okay, and then the leader currently is Blake Townend from Club England and Steel Series, who's way out, 4.7 seconds ahead of the lead now. So we just see Evan Maliard just to have a little bit of a squirm. Whoa, side by side, what a pass by Christopher Roberts. They're real capitalising on the the way the Mustangs really have to turn some of these corners, it just really stopped Evan. He just had to put the anchors out a little bit, and that really gave the opportunity to Christopher Roberts just to duck down the inside.
You gotta be kidding me. I switched to leader for 10 seconds, and I was just about to say that with my luck, we're gonna get overtaken right now, and it happened 2 seconds after I click. So we'll have a look at the replay of the pass. We're gonna instant replay of that action that happened about 40 seconds ago. So right now we're coming to the third last corner, I think. Yeah, Meliard just got heavily jammed over there.
It was fantastic sort of capitalisation of the error there by Christopher Roberts. What a great race. These guys are to and fro in the entire race.
Yeah, that was timed to perfection from Christopher. Just capitalized a single mistake, and did not give Evan any chance at all to recover from that, and just did not give him that extra 1 inch of space to squeeze themselves 3 wide through that Mustang. Awesome driving.
And that must have been pretty scary for Scott Michaels as well. He's had his fair share of contact through this race with other cars. That's got to be quite scary just to see someone do that, and you're thinking, God, slow down, don't hit me.
Yeah, that's always the effect that you get, whether it's Mustang against Riley or Ford GT against HPD. When you have a car that is capable of that, cornering that much faster, it's always a scary moment. And yeah, currently looking at the Mustang standings, and as unbelievable as it sounds, Kevin Parrish is still unpitted.
There must be a glitch somewhere. I certainly can't see any laps where he's slowed down to anything below 140.
That's
what
insane.
A fantastic drive.
Yeah, I mean, being able to keep that car under control with the 90-minute-old tires, that's insane driving, because whoever has ever driven that Mustang before knows that once you get past 30 minutes with those tires, the car just becomes like on ice, and he's just lapping consistently 1 minute 40s. Like that's some car control
he's
right
in
there.
The pits. You've spoken far too. He's in the pits for a stop and go.
1 minute
for
before
a
the end.
dash. Yeah. Oh, he hits the wall. This race is becoming unravelled for Kevin Parrish. Just as he comes in, he's unable to brake. Just drives into the wall.
Since nothing is happening at the moment on track, let's have a look at that in the replay. Coming in the pits right here. This pit entry is tight. I mean, we saw Gregor Hutto in the DWC race in a Formula 1 hitting that barrier twice.
Terrible mistake by Kevin Parrish. I wonder if he actually planned to run the entire duration, without having to pit, and just got caught short by his tactics.
Yeah, not sure. If based on his lap times, I would say that he was in a fuel conservation mode from the beginning, but. Since I've seen him lapping faster than he has done through the whole race, but today was just not to be the case.
Okay, so...
By the way, the white flag is about to get a white flag. Leader is about to get it.
Yep, and we're just seeing Blake Townend now.
Coming the last section of corners, and 3 minutes 45 seconds has already been completed, so white flag will be in the air this time by one more lap, and I have to say dominant performance by the leader. Actually, he's coming across the start-finish line right now.
That's correct. That's the checkered flag for Blake Townend.
How can that be? How can he get a white flag already with more than a lap time in the books? That was an awesome bug in the telemetry. It didn't give a white flag at all. It gave it directly the checker.
So the victory of the round 2 of the Grand Am Sports Car Premier Series goes to the Steel Series driver of Blake Townend. Second position goes to Christopher Roberts eventually. In third position goes to Evan Maliard. Fourth position goes to Anthony Rosselli. And we'll just wait for some more guys to cross the line. Seeing the winner of the Mustangs just come up to the last corner now. And there's Dave Gillink with Aid Riley behind him with Jarno. just pulls to one side and takes the checkered flag for the win in the Mustang class. That's a little bit of a wobble.
Yeah, unlike Blake Townend, I have to say that Dave Geeling's race was not boring.
No, he had some fantastic fights with Scott Michaels and a bit of drama as well. Second position goes to Scott Michaels.
Dave Geeling runs out of fuel. Right as he came across the start and finish line, he runs out of fuel.
He absolutely cutting it as close as you can get Dave Geeling there.
But who needs that extra gallon since you're not forced to drive into the pits after the race? So who needs it? I mean, he just planned it to perfection.
Okay, so your full classified stand-ins: first place Blake Townend, second Christopher Roberts, third place Ivan Maillard, fourth place Anthony Maselli, fifth is Rin Galloway, sixth Jarno Vilhallen, seventh position is Harold Michenhaller, eighth position is Kili Engstrom, ninth is Sergei Soldatov, 10th position Daryl Sutherland, 11th is Kevin Kozirok, and 12th position is Fabrizio Raffa. Your did not finishes from the Rileys. It goes to Chris Dameron Jr., Andres Corrali and David Ward. The Mustangs, your first position goes to Dave Jelink, second is Scott Michaels, third Kevin Parrish, fourth is Yonek Zorek, in fifth position is David Yak, sixth is the first retiree Stefan Overgaard, and Paolo Valente and David Galambos also with did not finishes. Well, that's it. It's been an absolutely cracking race, Yoni.
Yeah, it sure has. A lot more action than I anticipated, and have to say, if this sort of Mickey Mouse track keeps giving this much good battle, I can't wait for the next Premier Series week.
And who's your driver of the day?
Well, that's a tough one. Dave Geeling, based on that two wide lap, that was outstanding.
Oh. Now, you see, I was going to go Blake, but you're absolutely right. Dave, that was a fantastic lap from Dave Jelink. So he's my driver of the day as well.
That sounds a bit boring, but I'll take it.
Okay, then. So all that's really left for us to say is hope you've had a great time watching this broadcast put to you by Glacier TV. My name's Rob Sutherland. We've been joined at parts by Marius and Will today, Will Vincent, and to Yoni, our director, as well.
Indeed, and lots of action behind the scenes going on with the commentary. Will Vincent had an urgency; he had to leave shortly after the race commenced. Marius Gollenbeck took him over, and now Marius had to leave urgently, and I took over Marius. So. Everything is quite a smooth run overall, and I have to say I'm very pleased of this outcome of this race. I mean, both listening to you guys and watching the actions on track, even though I had my hands full trying to cover everything, but it was one of the best races of the iRacing Premier Series, both Skip Barber and Grand Am that I've seen.
Oh, fantastic.
Looks like we won't be getting any post-race interviews, so looks like we're gonna end the broadcast shortly. So this was Glacier TV live broadcast from iRacing Grand Am Premier Series. Catch us again with the Grand Am Premier Series in 3 weeks, I think. And also later tonight, 2 minutes 15 minutes to Team Afterburn Iowa Speedway 250, provided by Glacier TV, also starting live in 2 hours and 15 minutes, so tune into that as well. But in the meantime, good night.
Good night.